What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Hoss Talks, and look who I have with me now. The Hustler. No, the Silver Fox is what they call him. Harlan Hulsey. Harlan, thanks for taking time to chit-chat with me, man.
No problem. Glad to be on here with you.
So, we got a chance to talk to your boy a couple weeks ago. We got to talk to Ty. And I figured what better time than now to get the old man on the show and kind of let everybody know where he gets his talent from, because nobody rolls the bottom better than you, buddy. So give us just a real quick breakdown of, like, how did you get started racing?
Well, my dad and Milo Dean started the fire safety crew at Tulsa Speedway when I was just a baby and always wanted to race. Went through a divorce when I was about 25, and a buddy of mine, Sonny McNatt with S&M Automotive, had a mini stock there that wasn't even lettered or didn't even have a body on it yet. And he said, well, why don't you start racing? So we put a body on it that day, painted the number on it, and went racing at Creek County Speedway that night.
And you've been hooked ever since?
Ever since.
So you started out as a full body guy,
Mm-hmm.
and ran, how many years did you run the mini stock stuff?
I ran it about 5 or 6 years, and then we actually traded. We had a super mini stock, and we traded it to Paul Haas for Scooter Haas to run, and we traded it for a 100-inch super modified car.
Really?
And got hooked on the sprint cars and started doing that. We didn't have a motor with it, so Earl McDoulet at Mingo Salvage had some IMCA motors. He sponsored us, so he said, here, put that in it and go race. So that's what we did.
So what was the transition like from the mini stock, the super mini stock, as they called them back in the day, to a 100-inch car? Like, what was the biggest difference for you that you recall?
Just setups. The mini stock, once you had it, and you didn't really have to mess with anything. The sprint car was it was a 100-inch car, so it's a little harder to get to handle. The first 2 or 3 weeks in it, I could not get that car to turn. And my dad finally looked at me and said, if you can't find somebody that can help you set that up, then get out of it. So we found a couple of guys that would help us out. Stan Constant, that used to race, was really good at it, and he kind of came over and showed us and helped us out a little bit, and been doing it ever since.
So over the years, you've gone from 100-inch car to a super sprint, right? To the wing car, 2-barrel stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You did that for a while. Was it before Ty was born, or was it after Ty was born that you went kind of the mini sprint direction?
It was after Ty was born. Ty was born, and we had a sprint car, and we kind of gave up racing for a little bit because, he was born, and we wanted to spend a little time with him. Didn't really have the money to do it at the time.
Right.
And then we got back into it, and I got a mini sprint. It was a turf tire car that we ran at Claremore, Will Rogers Raceway, and instantly went out and started winning in it and got hooked to doing that. And so I got a newer car and gave that car to my oldest son, and we started racing together, and just ever since then been doing it. Kind
of just snowballed from there.
Yep.
The first time you put Ty in a car, do you remember that? In a junior sprint?
Well, we put him in a quarter midget is what I got him to start with, and he did not like the asphalt stuff.
He just wasn't having it.
Well, they wanted you to hang out the side of the car and lean over with your head out, and we kept saying, no, we're not doing that. He's not leaning over, and he didn't like it anyway.
Right.
So he hated the asphalt stuff, and he wanted to race on dirt, and he wanted to do it with us on Saturday night instead of Sunday afternoon or Friday night. So we just said to heck with it. We sold that and got him a junior sprint and came to Port City Raceway, and off he went.
Off he went. Throughout the course of the years, after he's like transitioning from the junior sprint into the restrictor and then eventually into non-wing A class and all that good stuff, whenever you started racing against him, was there like some was there like any like strong rivalry? And because you guys still race against each other today.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have been racing against each other for quite a few years now.
Yeah, a long time. When he first started doing it, no, it wasn't a rivalry. At that time, I wasn't ever the greatest, but I was pretty good in a micro, and So I was still running up front pretty regularly, and if I'd get close to him or start to pass him, he'd start running twice as hard. And his brother Andrew would do the same thing. I'd get by him, and they'd start running me harder than anybody on the racetrack. And afterwards, I'd be like, man, I could have won that if you'd just let me go instead of raced with me. So
cut me a little bit of slack, bro.
But now, Ty is pretty hard to beat.
Yeah?
So...
Well, once you beat him, it's like, gotcha, sucker.
Right.
And he's like, Dad, that was a heat race. Don't worry. Wait till the feature time, right?
Yeah, it doesn't happen very often. I just got back into the sprint cars, so still trying to get comfortable in it.
Get comfy in it. What about dirt track racing? Was it that just like, man, this is what I want to do? Like, this is a lot of fun. Like, what about it made it just something that just clicked? Was it something to do after the divorce and – you know, you're like, the chicks dig it, like.
No, we just went out and instantly had success. I mean, the first night in a mini stock, I went out and won. I mean, in the heat race, I lapped the field all but about 2 cars.
So what you're saying is like you're just a natural.
I guess I picked it up quick. So
in high school and in your younger years, you were going to the racetrack, right?
Oh yeah,
your dad was, like you said, your dad was the dude that started the fire safety team. Like that's got to be a pretty proud moment, right? To say, hey, my dad is the one that started this stuff to keep people safe. And now you see it, the way safety has grown and exploded over the last few years, no pun intended. Just to say that, hey, my dad was kind of a leader and an innovator in making that stuff happen has to be pretty cool.
Right. Well, my whole family's been on the Tulsa Fire Department and all retired from it. I guess I didn't get that gene. I tried to get on right out of school, and I just didn't like the written test part of it.
Right.
And so I went into glass business, but the racing side of it, I've always loved it. I've been fairly good at it. You know, we've won races every year. And it's just the adrenaline flow, the excitement, and the family part of it. Our family's together every week, and the racing community is family. I mean, you may hate somebody on a racetrack, but you don't want to see anybody get hurt.
Right.
So you do anything you can to keep that from happening.
Right.
And you do anything you can to help somebody that is hurt.
So growing up, you're going to the racetrack. What were you into as a kid? Like, were you into basketball or soccer? Like, what did you do in high school, elementary, whatever? Like, were you involved in sports?
I played baseball since I was about 5 years old. Played Owasso High School baseball.
Right.
So
what position?
a little bit of everything. I played center field a lot, second base. So
I've been to second base a couple times. What was your favorite position? Like, was second base your spot?
Yeah, I liked the infield a lot better and was fairly decent at hitting. I never had any power, but I could get base hits pretty regularly.
I liked the infield too because it felt like I was in the action more.
Right.
I mean, I know I don't look like a ball player, but you know, I played shortstop back in my day.
Well, that's my deal. I mean, you're more involved in the game to me if you're in the infield. So.
Yeah. So 25 years old is whenever you started racing.
Right.
Do you think if you would have gotten the opportunity to start earlier that it would have been like maybe you would have blossomed into something sooner or quicker? Or are you kind of happy with the way things went?
No, I'm happy with the way things went. Everything turned out good, and I mean, my kids have got an opportunity to do it. My daughters love to go to the races. I've got a stepdaughter that her fiance is racing. So I mean, it's just in the family. We enjoy it. We have a good time. And
what about like racing with your kids? I mean, that's got to be something special and something different, right?
It is. We have a really good time, and I mean, we kind of jab at each other a little bit, and I'm gonna beat you tonight. And
well, so you and Ty, I've been around you and Ty. For those of my watchers and folks that don't know, the whole reason why I'm in Tulsa is by the blessing of the Hulseys. Like I got the opportunity to work for a business and work for a graphics company for quite a few years. And whenever I moved here, I didn't have a place to go. But like the year prior to that, or actually a couple of years, whenever you guys started running the midgets and we got to hang around each other sometimes, and whenever I come up to Tulsa, they always open up their house. But you and Ty always have this little, and it doesn't matter what it is. Like you guys, you're a sports nut.
Oh yeah.
Like both of you are like, that's, you know, I talked to Ty during his interview and I'm like, if you weren't a race car driver right now, what could you see yourself doing? And he's like, I could probably be like a sports analyst or like something like that. Could you ever see yourself like if they called you up and like, hey, Mr. Hulsey, this is Chet something with ESPN, and we're looking for somebody to sit in and talk Cornhusker football with us. You're a big Nebraska fan.
I am a Nebraska fan.
So, I mean, a diehard Nebraska fan.
Yep.
Not one of these just by the whim of, oh, they're winning this week? Yep, I'm a Nebraska fan. Or, vice versa. So, if there was something like that, would you jump on board and, like, go be a little an insider for, like, a sports deal?
Oh, yeah.
Like, whenever you retire from the glass business, I don't think you'll ever do that, but if that day were to ever come, like, could you see yourself being, like, a sports analyst?
I'd have to get up on it big time because Ty keeps up with that stuff all the time, and I don't have time for it a whole lot.
Right.
I mean, I watch anything on the weekends, and I got to be around sports, and we watch our Flow stuff. We have the Flow app, so I don't know. I love college football better than pro. I just like college sports better than pro sports. But
well, here's what I don't get. Like, a lot of people like just know the names of like, oh, that's number 14. That's Amir Johnson, and he's got 14 catches. Are you one of those guys that like knows those stats?
No, I'm not. That's definitely Ty.
That's definitely Ty.
Yeah, he keeps up with all that stuff.
So, over the course of the last, how many years have you been racing? Let's add it up real quick.
Well, I started in '89.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
What, 30, 31 years?
What was it like racing around dinosaurs?
Well, I don't know. They were faster than I was.
So that's quite a few years.
Yeah,
that's a long time.
It's a long time. During high school, I got to run a little bit of motocross stuff, so
yeah.
I got to do that.
Okay. So racing as a whole has evolved, and it's changed a lot.
A big time.
Just from your perspective, I mean, I feel like we're going to be in some agreement here. How has racing changed for the good, first of all?
Well, I think more families have actually gotten involved, and they treat it more as a family sport. I mean, it's not, I don't know, everybody's really competitive on the racetrack, but everybody hangs out after the races all the time.
The camaraderie's really
grown. Yeah, the camaraderie has grown on it. There's more kids involved in it,
right.
Which sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad. But
okay, so you bring up a good point here. Whenever you guys started running micros and stuff, it was really strict as far as the age went.
Right.
Like, you had to be 14 before you could run this. You had to be 16 before you could run an outlaw or multi or whatever we want to call them. Since then, it's through the course of time, things have changed. And doors have been opened to where we as racetracks, as series, as promoters, directors, whatever you want to call us, we've allowed it to become a deal where you're a pretty good shoe. We're going to let you move up.
Right.
And even sometimes you're a year off. You're 2 years away from being 14. Go ahead. It's another, we only have 14 cars. Let's go ahead and, let them run and get a full field.
Right.
What's your perspective on it? Should it go back to just a straight, flat, here's the age, that's the deal, kind of like the Chili Bowl?
If it was up to me, yes, that'd be the way it was.
You have to go through this. You have to go to this age.
Well, because it's, I don't know, they say, well, he's good enough, let's let him do it. But he's not. Well, who gets to pick and choose that? Yeah. I mean, if you put an age limit on it, then it's just that age limit. When they get there, they can start. If there's not that age, they don't get to. Yeah,
there's no gray area. I can agree with that to a certain extent. I mean, I like seeing some of these younger kids that have the potential, but then there you go again. It's a judgment call of, well, what makes him better than this guy over here? Is it? It
is, but I mean, it's just a sticky situation. There's a lot of good kids, and especially in the micro racing ranks coming up, that are really good. Port City is a prime example of it. There are some really good racers around this area. I'm sure there are in other areas of the country too. With that being said, I mean, does your 12-year-old need to be running Outlaw all
Right.
the time? The Outlaw class used to be the premier class, and when Ty moved up to the ranks into the Outlaw class, it was a privilege to be able to run with the Outlaw guys. I mean,
Right.
you had some pretty good racers around here that were in the
Absolutely.
Outlaw class, and now I just don't feel like the Outlaw class is that much out here. I mean,
Do you feel like it's overpriced itself? And I'm saying because, I mean, we hear the discussions all the time, and this is probably off topic of the way my show usually goes, but I feel like you're a guy that I can debate with and talk to about this stuff with. A lot of times, from what I see, and it's not even just micro racing, it's any racing in general, you see the racers going, oh, well, there's this new shiny object over here, this new latest, greatest piece of technology that's been released, that if we can have that, we can save money on this, and it prolongs our engines, or it prolongs this, but then it ends up becoming a deal where it almost overprices itself. And people just get blinded by that.
Yeah, it is that way, but
Because you guys still, in your Outlaw, just up until recently, you guys were running like bare minimum, like almost bone stock. Almost. There's some minor things that you guys did, but
well, we still run the Hondas in our own stuff. Now, Kevin Reed lets us run a car that has a Yamaha in it, but it's an older Yamaha. It's the 05 Yamahas, and he put injection on it, and that's really helped it out a bunch. Our stuff, we still run the Hondas, and we still run it on carburetors. We're just now in the process. It's over getting Gould injection put on it all to see what we can do, because we have all the torque we need, but
Right.
on these bigger tracks, you need top end.
yeah.
And the injection gives you more top end, so that's why we're trying to go that route. But our Outlaw motor it's a 1 mil Honda that we ran, and I think Ty ran third in the shootout with it in 17, and that's the motor that's still in our car. We haven't spent a lot of money on our Outlaw stuff.
Do you feel like the bigger like here at Port City, it's not really necessary, so to speak?
It's a
For the
small
most part?
track, so to me, Port City's not all about the motor. You got to have driver, you got to have setup, and you got to be smooth. I don't know, I guess if there was anything I'd tell anybody in racing that's getting into it coming up, you got to be smooth before you ever get fast.
Right.
So instead of telling your kids, hey, just go wide open and go, make smooth laps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more important than trying to be super fast right out the gate.
Because if you come out with this big bad to the bone motor and your throttle control's not there, you're not going to be able to put it on the track anyways.
Right. Everybody thinks, trust me, and I think in Ty's segment that he did with you, he talked about he likes to run the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That's because I've always taught him, to me, the bottom's the fastest way around, or shortest way around, I should say. And you have to have patience to run the bottom. It's the same as running the top. You've got to hit your marks. Everything's got to be right. But the top, you got to be wide open going, and the bottom, you have to have the patience. And a lot of drivers just don't have the patience. It's faster because they feel faster because they're wide open around the top. But we set up for the bottom. We run the bottom most of the time, and it's just, to me, it's easier on equipment. It's easier on motors, so your stuff lasts longer.
Right.
It's easier on tires. So if you can get around the bottom good, you can get around the track good.
And this is why, if you folks ever watch Flow Racing and you ever see one of these guys, Hulsey, go to the top side of the racetrack, that's why I make it such a big deal.
Right.
Because it is a pretty big deal. Like if you even get a car linked up off the bottom, I start breathing heavy. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going on? Am I awake? Am I dreaming? Like, what's going on? Because you guys run the bottom so smoothly and so effortlessly.
We get around the bottom pretty good. I am getting a little older, so it's getting harder for me to get around the racetrack. But it's just, I've always taught him that, and I've always been that way. And we'll go to the top. I mean, a few years ago, I was leading the Tulsa shootout, running the top because there was nothing on the bottom. So I mean, you obviously have to go where the track is. It was just faster around the top, so you had to be on the top. We can run the top. We just prefer the bottom.
Over the course of the years, you've been able to travel to a lot of different tracks
Oh,
and run different cars. Like, what are some of your top tracks that you like really enjoy going to?
Oh, we like Lake of the Ozarks Speedway in the sprint cars. It's a lot of fun. We've done more of that in the midget stuff and sprint car stuff. I-55 in Nebraska is a really nice track. Lucas Oil obviously is an awesome place to go, and they're just fun places to go. Lucas to me is not the raciest track, but by far it's the nicest track.
The atmosphere and everything else makes up for it. What's a track that's like on a bucket list for you? Like if I could say, you pick the racetrack you want to go to, I'm going to foot the bill. Where are we going to go?
For me, I'd like to go to I-55. Ty's been there and ran, and yeah, we've been there with him, but I haven't raced on it.
You haven't got to race it?
No, and we went there, and I'm like, well, this track really isn't that big. We can put this gear in. It's a small track, but man, it runs like a big. It runs like a half-mile racetrack. You're wide open on that thing.
That place is fun.
It's fast.
Some good road trips up and down the road, and I remember that weekend whenever they stacked all the stuff up on my bed in my hotel room. I was like, man, gosh, Brock, I'm still after you on that one. So being around racing for so long, you've seen a lot of people come and go. You've seen a lot of people go and then come back.
Right.
What would be some words of wisdom, some words of encouragement that you would give to an up and coming? We've seen it this year really majorly here at Port City. A lot of kids coming from the quarter midgets into restrictors.
Right.
And you can tell that it's, for some of them, it's just not clicking yet. For some of them, they're right there on the cusp of it. It may be an equipment failure or just not knowledgeable enough about it. I know that you guys are always open books, and like you said, people helped you along the way whenever you were getting started, and you're more than welcoming whenever people need help. You try and help them out as much as possible. What would be some, like, in closing here, what would be like some words of encouragement or some words of like wisdom that you could give to somebody? Well,
it's like I said earlier, you don't have to be fast right off the bat. A lot of it's the parents wanting their kids to, you got to win, you got to win. To me, it's not all. We used to tell Ty, you finish wherever you finish. There's no pressure on you. Yeah, it's great if you win, but especially in the micro ranks, you got to stop and think. If you're running first or second, the pay is a little different. From fifth back, every spot I think is like $10 difference.
Right.
So don't go out and wad somebody else's stuff up running fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, and tear up $500 worth of your stuff and $500 worth of stuff of theirs.
Over $10.
Over a $10 deal and 3 points difference, I think it is. So just go out and run your race. If you load it in the trailer, it's a win at the end of the night. Nothing's torn up. You get better. You come back next week. Just be smooth. And it's like I said earlier, the smoother you are, the faster you're going to be. So get smooth, and you'll be fast.
You heard it from the Silver Fox right here on Haas Talks. Be smooth, be fast, and hey, we'll see you next time on Haas Talks.
Performance Electronics, custom electronic solutions. From design to manufacturing, let us put your ideas in motion and become your company's full-service electronics manufacturing experts. Performance Electronics.